Y'all hear about this goofy ass plane that managed to go missing? Not just any plane, by the way. An F-35 $100 million fighter jet just went missing, and the United States government didn't know where it went for a very brief period of time. I think it was on Monday or something like that. They sent out the clarion call to the United States people. If you got tips on where this thing ended up going, can you just ring us up and let us know? It was a wild situation. Before I had time to talk about it, well, it was all just kind of wrapped up. Yeah, we found pieces of it there and over there as well, but very little information until a couple of days ago when we figured out that, the pilot ejected from the $100 million jet over South Carolina. Interesting. Due to bad weather. Bad September. It's like middle of bad weather? Is there some hurricane that we didn't quite know about or anything like that? But bad weather. Do you think that we're that stupid? Well, then again, there are some people that are still out there wearing face diapers and willingly taking an experimental medicine to go ahead and stave off the effects of a scratchy throat. So yeah, okay, maybe they have a right to believe that some people are that basement level with their thinking, but come on, man. And the people who can rub two thoughts together and then also have a little bit of recollection when it comes to certain other events going on across the world in order to, connect the dots here. Just a little bit. There we go. We can go ahead and, just touch the tips together. Pause. But there's a bunch of conspiracy theories because nobody's really buying the whole, it was just bad weather, bro. It's like, yeah, there's got to be something more behind this. A lot of people are thinking about this. But this is the first time that, well, I've kind of heard this idea posited. I'm not going to say that I come up with it, and maybe it's just parallel thinking with other people, but I haven't heard this one before. So, F-35 pilot ejected from a $100 million jet over South Carolina due to bad weather, as experts reveal why plane couldn't be tracked. Yeah, exactly. It's like you can't find. Don't you track everything? Like you tried to put different apps on our phone, and obviously you have the cell phone data to track anybody down to the meter where they're at. So why couldn't you find something that's worth not one, not two, but $100 million? Doesn't make a lot of sense. The pilot who ejected from the $100 million F-35 fighter jet claimed to have lost the plane in the weather. No, if you were piloting it, you couldn't have lost anyways. And likely bailed out before he could activate his tracking system. Oh, okay. Well, it's not a woman, so I guess that's one conspiracy theory down. Well, more just, a pattern recognition that ends up getting debunked because it's a man, okay? He's unsure of whether his plane crashed. He just lost it in the weather. A voice can be heard saying the pilot on the Charleston County Emergency Medical Services call posted Tuesday by meteorologist. Sorry, what? Medical services provided by a meteorologist. What the fuck? Is this just a report, a government report made by Mad Libs? The fuck are we doing? The unidentified pilot landed in North Charleston residential neighborhood. So the pilot landed in North Charleston. Okay. He was taken to a local hospital for treatment. He has since been discharged. There's no name from him, but why isn't there a name? That's another reason why there's some theories that are out there. Military officials have not yet released a specific reason for the pilot's hasty exit, only referring to the incident as stemming from a malfunction. Okay, so it's a malfunction. No, it's bad weather. No, it's both. Or maybe it's something different. Longtime military aviation expert and consultant Richard Bafuli, told the Post the pilot was likely operating the stealth fighter without any tracking capabilities activated. If this is just simply a training exercise, I call cap on that. That is totally ridiculous. All of those tactical stealth capabilities would not be necessary within the confines of the United States, unless, of course, you're planning to attack somebody domestically. I don't really think that that's the case, because that would be a weird jihad message if you have the pilot eject. I don't really know about that. And ejected before he could do so. Right, okay. Couldn't turn them on beforehand. If you turned on the onboard device, it would be easily trackable. But this is a stealth aircraft. If you don't turn on that particular device, it's going to be hard to make contact, most likely. He or she. Okay, so now we're not sure. Did not have a lot of time to react. Lost it in the weather. Didn't have time to turn on tracking capabilities. Okay. Military officials were compelled to ask for the public's help in locating the plane via a post on Facebook. They went to the most ancient of methods. Bro, we put it up on our wall on MySpace, or we contacted some of our closest friends on Friendster, but I don't know. We had to reach out a little bit for. Oh wait, they already found it. Don't worry about it then. It's unusual. Abby, we'll just call you Abby, said about the effort, but what's the harm? Sorry, what's the harm? It's $100 million, you fucking neocon. The onboard device has not been turned on. It's not being tracked. You don't even know the pilot, okay? You don't even know the sex of the pilot, but you're just saying for sure that, oh, we know for sure that the tracking device wasn't on. Okay. So it makes perfect sense. They're going to be asking for people in the area. I might have seen a jet heading in their direction, but if it's such a stealth flyer, why would they be able to spot a jet? See how none of this shit is making sense? Plane ultimately crashed in a wooded area in South Carolina, about 60 miles from where the pilot parachuted to the ground. So it traveled another 60 fucking miles. Not a short period of time that this thing just got lost in the weather for. Must have been a good updraft that day. But okay. State law enforcement officers said that they officially identified the plane on Monday and has since closed off a 1 mile stretch of the Williamsburg County. I don't know at this point in time if that area is still cordoned off, but I got some ideas. Local residents in the rural area heard an ear-piercing screech before a massive boom that shook their homes. Yeah, no, exactly. The jet is part of the U.S. Department of Defense's priciest weapons systems program in the United States Department of Defense. But yeah, I guess they didn't quite spring for the OnStar package. Fucking stupid. According to a May 2023 report from the U.S. Government Accountability Office, that must be the most fucking lax place in the world. If you're not qualified enough to get a job greeting at Walmart, you could probably go down to the Accountability Office of the United States government. Have you seen how many accounting errors have been publicly announced so far this year? Great. The agency is considering modernizing the aircraft's engine. Are you having a laugh? Abby said that although the high-tech model may have issues, it is still considered a top fighter jet around the world and coveted by a long list of governments. Yeah, now we're starting to get spicy. I understand the frustration with the delays and the cost of returns and whatever else, he said, but the fact they can't produce these fast enough for demand, and that's the bottom line. Give me a hell yeah. How about a fuck off? You know what? I've seen a bunch of other conspiracy theories as well, and probably the one that has the most traction, the one that I think has a little bit of credence behind it. I think it was Andrew Tate who ended up, positing this idea that it ended up getting hacked. And if this halfwit is not Tate, Tate's a good man. This Abbey fellow says that, it's a high-tech model, but not all that high-tech. Could it have been remotely hacked, knowing that the operating system that they run all of this shit on isn't exactly, it's not exactly top of the line? Seems pretty likely. I would like to know the trajectory of this flight. Like, was it heading from a military base on the East Coast, heading south? Like, was it heading towards any of the new Chinese installations in Cuba or something like that? Or was it heading out towards the ocean? Because that would clear up a whole bunch of things. Maybe this was just simply a training exercise gone wrong. Who knows, man? Maybe it did get lost in the bad weather. Maybe they are actually being truthful for once in the government, but kind of like with all of those idiots that are thinking, no, the guys, the Russell Brand accusers, they're 100% true this time. You got to believe the women this one time out of 1,000 different efforts of these Me Too allegations always turning out to be total fucking cap. No, this is the one time that the government is going to tell you the truth. Okay, sure. We'll play along for a second. Do I think it's bad weather? I think it might be good cover for that. Do I think that we know, or that we probably should know who the pilot is by this point in time if they didn't have anything to hide? I would also think that would be pretty important, because I also remember something else that's going on at the same time, and why it was also funny that he pointed out that several governments around the world are also trying to get their hands on the F-35 fighter jet, because, well, you've got Ukrainian air forces training on F-16s right now. I know it's a different model and all that stuff, but if the United States is continuing to pledge and help Ukraine with all of their war efforts, do you really think that it would be on the realm of possibility that there wasn't a Ukrainian Air Force pilot also training on an F-35? I'm just wondering, man, because this is real. This is legit, by the way. It's so funny that this specific article came out a day before the mishap. Just certain happenstance, right? Ukraine's Air Force says F-16 training for pilots advancing significantly. Okay. The process of training Ukrainian pilots on Western F-16 fighters have made significant progress and gained momentum. Like, I'm a quarter Ukrainian and I can't pronounce all that shit. Okay, so one of them boys. Spokesman for the Ukrainian Air Force said Ukrainian national television. Well, it's all been nationalized, kind of like the opposition in Ukraine. It's kind of like the elections in Ukraine as well. Funny. I can assure you that the process has really moved forward very seriously, Ignat said. I was not static. It was not static, but it has gained momentum. The pilots are studying and undergoing training. Ignat refused to say in which country and how many pilots have been trained, as well as how many aircraft Ukraine will receive. We already know that NATO has afforded several F-16s. Don't know about the 35s yet, but maybe we're just keeping that under wraps. Maybe that'll be the next round of deployments. As the the defense expert said that they're very difficult to go ahead and create. There's a long backlog, so the moment that the United States can get some new shiny toys to play with, we'll ship out the old stock, kind of like what they're doing throughout this entire war. It's definitely not a proxy war, guys. Trust us. Unfortunately, yes, we cannot answer questions in such detail right now. Not every state wants to get into much detail about process that is taking place in territory. Earlier in the interview with Envy, new voice, by the way, Ignat, said that experienced pilots from Ukraine would learn to pilot F-16s in the United States and Denmark. Kind of makes sense why they haven't released the information to the pilot that ended up crashing that F-35. I wonder. Like I said, man, just the theory, but I haven't heard anybody else talk about this, even though the timelines really do line up. Well, young pilots would learn to fly in the United Kingdom. Well, it's not like they've been forthright about all the information about this war to begin with, so why would they be all that forthright as to who's training where specifically? They've given you 3 places where they're learning to fly these very complicated fighter jets, so you would think mishaps would be par for the course. Now, the language training for Ukrainian pilots and technicians will begin at an airbase in Texas ahead of the training U.S. Fighter jets themselves. In mid-August, the United States authorized Denmark and the Netherlands to transfer F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine as soon as the pilots had completed their training. Yeah. Interesting. So they're training in Texas. There's a bunch of other Air Force bases all around the country as well. Would it be... I know it's about a third of the way around the country from Texas to South Carolina, but would it really be that big of a stretch that this wasn't a Ukrainian training practice gone wrong? I'm just wondering, man. Because the timelines, the fact that they're just beginning their training, that's over there. But trust us, guys, we're doing things good, and this is definitely going to turn the war for people that can't even fly the planes in controlled places. And thank God no American citizens were taken out. You're already raping their pockets. You don't need to kill them off, for Christ's sakes. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.